A South Carolina man was horrified after he hired a prostitute.
And you'll never guess who showed up.
Next on Men Are So Smart. A 54-year-old Lexington, South Carolina man has made headlines after his attempt to hire a prostitute through an online service ended in a terrible mix-up that may cost him his marriage.
So the man, who we can't identify for privacy reasons, had been using this same booking website for some months to hire prostitutes and then meet them for sex at motels in neighboring areas.
Okay.
On the most recent occasion, which occurred this weekend, or actually last weekend now, the man told his wife he was going out drinking with work colleagues when in reality, he was going to a motel on the outskirts of Lexington.
The story gets even better. Stay with us right now. You're about to hear something that's going to make you go.
It's about to get real up in here.
All up. Upon checking into the motel, the man used his phone to access his regular website used to book prostitutes. According to a statement he made to authorities, he saw the profile of a 26-year-old woman who caught his attention. As with many of the photos on the site, the photo only showed the woman from her neck down. But the man is said to have liked what he saw, and he sent her a message to see if she was free later that night. She said she was, and they arranged for a liaison at the motel.
Guests in adjoining rooms called the front desk to report a disturbance at around 8 p.m. after the woman arrived and found out that her client was none other than her husband of the previous 17 years.
A look of surprise
and horror. Or is that horror? I think it's horror. It emerged that the prostitute, who had advertised herself as an attractive 26-year-old, was actually the man's 48-year-old wife. Dang, talk about false advertising. She was furious to find her husband in the motel room, although he was equally angry to learn that he had been advertising her services on a prostitution website. You think?
Check this out. As if this story couldn't get worse for either one of them, the husband may now face charges under South Carolina's tough prostitution laws, which make it illegal to engage in any type of sexual activity in exchange for money or some other form of compensation, even if it is with one's own spouse. Yeah, hi. Yeah, it's Lou. Yeah. I was wondering, could you send somebody over here, I don't know, say about 26 years old, really hot? Yeah.
And not my wife.
Oh, yeah. I forgot to mention. Can you believe that?
Yeah.
So I guess she was working as a prostitute, and he didn't know that. And he was hiring prostitutes,
and she didn't know that. Yeah, I think there's a little bit of fault on both sides here. I don't think either one of them are completely off the hook.
What are the odds of that happening?
It's never happened to me.
Well, not recently. All right, story number 2 today. Police say an axe-wielding man showed up outside a Massachusetts radio station demanding that the song My Axe be played and held off responding officers for 3 hours.
Witnesses at the station and employees said the man arrived at KISS 108 in Medford on Monday with an axe in hand and unsuccessfully requested the station play the song by Insane Clown Posse.
Arriving officers found the 38-year-old man in his car in the station parking lot. Police say he tossed sharp-edged weapons, probably a fork, out of the car during the standoff, and officers unsuccessfully used a stun gun on him.
Could have been a spork. They're a little bit more dangerous, I think, than a fork. But, yeah. So the man surrendered about 4:30 p.m., and WBZ reports he had minor self-inflicted cuts on his arms from the spork. Police say he will undergo a psychiatric evaluation.
Oh, do you really think that's necessary?
I don't think that's necessary.
No, that's over the top.
That's overkill.
I think this guy's fine.
You know what? Yeah.
Here's why I don't understand the story at all. This little device right here, this, you can get YouTube on. Okay? Yeah. Many of you are watching us on your phones right now as we speak. If you go to YouTube and you type in the song My Axe, it's going to come up there with a video. Let me back it up just a little bit.
It may also come up with an advertisement for shower gel.
Oh, Axe, yeah.
Yeah.
Got it. I stretched to get that one, but it's a long stretch at first base, but I got it. So my point is this. There really is no reason on God's green earth for a person to ever have to call a radio station and request a song. You could listen to My Axe by Insane Clown Posse. You could program your phone to play it 100 times in a row if you wished.
Yep. Could be a ringtone.
Okay, so why is it that you feel that you got to hear your song on the radio with today's technology? Yeah. And I can speak as a guy who has been on the end of receiving those calls for requests. And my radio history goes way back before the internet. So, there's justification in that.
Right.
There was no other way to communicate with somebody other than calling the radio station. And trust me, as a kid growing up, I would spend countless Friday nights and Saturday nights doing that. But in today's world, friends, and when people say to me, oh, not me, those computer machine things, they're never going to catch on.
It's flash in the pan.
Me and computers don't get along. Nothing pisses me off more than that. That means what you're doing is saying, I'm really stupid, and I'm laying down, and I'm giving up.
And listening to my 8-track tape.
With my ponytail.
Mullet, probably.
Yeah, either way. So, friends, does this guy need a psychiatric evaluation? For a lot of reasons.
Yeah.
Okay? Buy the dang CD. I don't know. Download it 100 times.
Yeah, it's like $1.29 off Apple.
Don't go to a radio station with an axe. Trust me, it sets off a lot of problems for you.
Yeah.
There's a lot of security that goes along with a radio station for many reasons. But anyway, calling the radio station and getting your song played, it's not really going to happen unless someone is doing an all-request show.
It's not that big a deal. Well, and now I remember way back in the day when you could call and request a song. It would be funny because sometimes your song would never come on. You would listen for like 4 hours and you'd think, how many requests do they have?
Right.
Well, in reality, a lot of these radio stations had a playlist. And if your song happened to be in that playlist within a certain block of time, you were going to hear it right away. And then they would announce it that, hey, we have a request from Ron who, wanted to hear Britney Spears Toxic or whatever one of my favorites was. Yeah, not that. Then you would hear it. But if it's not in that list in the order, it could be 8, 10, 12 hours before you hear your request.
If you call a station that plays R&B oldies and you ask for Rocky Raccoon by the Beatles,
that one's never coming on.
And you know what the person that answers the phone is going to say? We'll do our best. We'll try and get that on for you.
Right.
In 5 minutes, they're not even going to remember that you requested that because it's just not a song. And it's never going to happen.
No.
And also, radio is so segmented now that there are radio stations specifically designed to play a genre. And they may cross over with 1 or 2 or 5 songs that touches on one side of that or the other side of that. But if they play Diana Ross and the Supremes, and they play Keith Sweat, and they play Luther Vandross, they're not going to play Rocky Raccoon.
No.
You're listening to the wrong station. And then one other thing I wanted to mention. A lot of people say to me, because I used to work on oldie stations, you know what? There's not a really good oldies radio station in Sacramento. And, you know, what's happened is this. The songs from the 50s and 60s that were popular back then, the people that belonged to that era have, many of them, passed away. Or they don't really have money at the ready to spend.
Right.
So advertisers, unless it's for old people stuff,
Right.
denture grip, you're not going to hear that on the radio. So then the question begs, once again, where do I hear it? I just told you.
Yeah, your phone.
Just whatever device you use to listen to YouTube. You can hear those as many times as you want.
One of my greatest gags ever is when you were working the oldie station, and I called up and changed my voice just a little bit and asked for some Backstreet Boys. And there was a long silence. And then you said, "Who is this?"
Yeah, no, Backstreet Boys. All right, so there you go. A little bit of information about an axe-wielding, insane clown posse-loving man calls a prostitute service, gets his wife, and radio station info. All where else are you gonna get that, Ron?
Nowhere. This is it.
That's why this is such a niche program.
Right.
Okay. Why do we do it? We're givers.
It's for you.
That's going to wrap up another episode of Men Are So Smart. If you would like to get a hold of Ronnie or myself, you'll find our social media below. We're on Instagram. We are on Facebook. We're on Twitter. And our show is right here on YouTube.
Can't miss it.
Every weekday at 3 p.m., we release another episode. And finally, if you like it, share it. And you know what? Send the link to somebody on Messenger.
Yeah.
Try it that way.
Yeah.
That's a great way to view the show. And because that's what we need. We need some exposure. And we want to get this show out there because this is like a little break from reality. We talk about stuff that is mindless sometimes on purpose. See that thing? Click that and you will subscribe to our program. And be sure and click the bell that you see because that way you get notifications each time a new episode comes out. All right. I think that's it. You got anything else?
I'm out.
All right. I'm Lougallagher.
I'm Corvette Ronnie.
This has been Men Are So Smart. Bye.